What is up, homies? Welcome to FOHMO 2. Oh, we are so excited. It's been a while. We had our last FOHMO almost 2 months ago. It definitely doesn't feel like 2 months ago, but what would you know, it has been. We are excited to, kick it off with another one. A lot to talk about. So much progress has been made. Excited to share stuff with you. Excited to just kind of celebrate how far we've come and how far we have left to go. Real quick before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to K-Dude for that video. I thought it was awesome. Hopefully you guys do too. Someone just said something that I would agree with, which is that it's like too high quality for us. It's just such a good video. So thank you for that. So welcome to FOHMO 2. We're gonna, we have some speakers to talk today. We have some members of the DAO who are gonna speak with you. Real quick before we do that, I just want to kind of touch on, how far we've come thus far. I think it's really important to reflect. So first off, we opened this up like 4 minutes ago. We have like 200 people listening in already. I think it's really important just to kind of reflect and like think about, kind of the community that we're building. Because, for a lot of cases, it's like, oh, you have a cool community, like whatever. I think in this case, it's like immensely important. And it's important because of what like currency really is. So, if you think about what a currency is, you can kind of fixate on, oh, it's like a value. It's like, how you like buy things, but really it's how people communicate or cooperate with each other. Currency is a medium for people to cooperate without really trusting each other. It's inherently a social thing. It kind of underpins a society and a culture in that it allows people to work together without necessarily knowing each other, because you can trust that that currency that you're trading with each other with is sound and viable. And so I think that our community is so important because I see us as building a culture. We're building our own kind of like society in Omi land. It's kind of funny to say, I'll talk to people who will, check us out and they're like, what is going on with your community? Like, these people are crazy. They're just like shit posting in the chat all the time. Like, what's going on here? And it's really just that we're making strong social bonds. We are attracting people, one, with the protocol and the fact that I think that it's pretty compelling and, it catches your interest and imagination. But at the same time, it, draws people in for something beyond DeFi and something beyond money. It's a place to like, I honestly feel like I've made friends, like a lot of friends in this community, and I hope that you guys have too. Like that's really what we're building. It's not just a currency, but like a whole culture. And I think that that's like something that's really gonna just scale because, in my opinion, at least, like we have a pretty cool culture. We have a lot of fun. We talk about important stuff, but we also like have a good time with it, and it's just really powerful, in my opinion. In terms of like what we're building, I think that it's equally important, just because, like, I see this as giving the control over currency back to the users of the currency. So, we don't have decisions about our currency made by, unaccountable people, behind closed doors. And we also don't have it made by someone 10 years ago, and set in stone. And, you as a user today don't have any, say in what that monetary policy is. This is truly owned by the users in the community of this thing. And, it's just incredible to see this thing grow. I really just want to encourage you guys to like appreciate where we're at right now. We're at this point where we have this really like tight knit community, and there's a lot of people in it, but there's also like not that many people in it. And a lot of the people in it really well. You probably have like pretty close bonds with a lot of these people. Appreciate that, because you're not necessarily going to lose it, but I have an expectation that as things scale, it becomes harder and harder to feel that connected to the larger group, like everybody. And I just like, I feel like it's so powerful. I'm so grateful to, you know, be able to experience this with you guys. Yeah, you know, this is really cool. You know, this is really even definitely from prior to launching this, but even from last FOMO, you know, we've really like, you guys have exceeded my expectations at every turn, and I'm, you know, truly grateful and humbled for that. You know, moving on from that, you know, I just want to touch on the DAO. You know, so a lot of the DAO members are going to talk today. You know, they're going to touch on what's going on there. But that really just goes along that vein of just, you know, not only are people interested in, you know, hanging out with us, you know, like conversing, you know, they're actively getting to work to build this thing up. And, you know, that is truly special. You know, we have like literally hundreds of DAO contributors that are working every day to make this thing a reality. And, you know, I am of the belief that they are going to, because, you know, going back to it being a social thing, you know, you can will these things into existence just by agreeing with each other that this should exist, this should work this way, and we're going to make it happen. I'm not whispering. I'm sorry if the volume is quiet. I'm trying my best. Yeah, so I mean, as a last thing, I do just want to, like, you know, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I'm gonna do some numbers. I just want to like touch on kind of some metrics that I keep track of, just because, you know, they might not be too publicly available or watched or whatever. You know, just as a little bit of context, I wrote a reply tweet or something yesterday talking about Titan and, you know, just kind of algorithmic stable coins in general. And the fact that, you know, there's kind of this like oxymoron between a super profitable, or not necessarily super profitable, but like asymmetrically profiled stable coin, where, you know, a stable coin and a currency is not something that should be all that profitable. It can accrue yield, but it's probably not going to be to that large of a degree. You know, we will probably fall into the same position, although I don't think that we're quite there yet. But the reason for that is that as a stable coin, you derive your value and the confidence in your market from the fact that you hold that $1 peg. You know, and so in that case, you tell the market basically, this is the metric that you should focus on. You know, this is what you should look at to derive your confidence in this market. And when you do that, you know, you're basically boxed into almost, you know, not necessarily, like, there's other relevant things, but the focal point becomes your price. And with that, you know, a lot of other things get swept under the rug. I think that in our case, we had, you know, we have a pretty strong community that doesn't really focus on the price, and it's awesome because it is honestly like relevant, and I'm going to kind of show that to you guys. But I do want to just highlight some of those metrics that I do think that we should be looking at. These are the things that I look at, and I think that they're, you know, the most representative of, you know, how we're doing on the protocol level. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. You know, if not, I'll leave it here for a second. You know, basically this is the only like real, like, you know, basically if you look at this, you're gonna think, oh, they're fucked. Like the you know, the price chart looks, you know, less than ideal. I've had people, you know, tell me like, oh, like, you know, anyone who looks at this is gonna be turned away just by, like, you know, the fact that the chart is fucked. But it's not. You know, so we have this thing called the index. You know, when you stake your own, your balance goes up. Basically, the index is what represents or measures how that balance has moved up. And when you overlay the price with that index, you get the index adjusted price. So this is what's really important. This is what measures value. You know, so in that case, you know, it's definitely taken a drawdown. You know, we've had like a market wide thing. We've kind of like ended our honeymoon phase. And with that, you know, it's called the tranche of disillusionment. You know, it's when you have a new technology that comes out, people get really excited about it, and then they realize that, you know, like initial expectations might overshoot what has, you know, formulated in the short term right at that moment, and then you kind of have a fall off. You know, I think that we're pulling ourselves out of that. This is really like the make or break moment, in my opinion. And, you know, if we can pull ourselves out of this, you know, this will probably be the biggest test that we have to face, or at least I hope. So if you compare the two, they just tell two different stories. Like they're very different. I think that the index adjusted is the one that actually matters, and I think that it's important to kind of highlight. Just to realize that this like flat line down here isn't quite what's going on. You can even go a step further and normalize that to today. So today, whatever 200 and something, this peak here is the equivalent of like $500 today. So basically with these rebases, the effect is that the price is constantly getting scaled down. The chart is moving down from, what was 1400 to now 500 to soon 500 and, lower and lower. Just as two last things, and these are much more, protocol metric based. We have our change in risk-free value. So this is like probably this is realized values. So basically, these values can't go down. You can see they always are positive. It's either positive or zero. We had a little low period where we weren't really selling bonds. It was like kind of purposeful. But since the beginning of the month, we've really got the bonds back on track. Since then, we've had pretty consistent growth in those. And then you can look at it with market value too. This one can go negative because it includes the value of LP shares. But that one, it's clawing its way up. It's been consistently above or into positive territory for the last like month or so. I'm really happy to see that growth happen. Two more. This one is interesting, I think. We've got basically our risk-free backing. We've got our market value backing, and then we've got our price. You can see that the risk-free backing. So back in like early April, basically we were backed by nothing. We kind of clawed our way back up. We've realized a lot of value, and since then you've had this rise in risk-free value and a kind of stagnation in market value because price has not really risen to accommodate the fact that the floor has risen. That might seem like a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all, because this is my last one, is, the risk-free value versus the market value of our treasury. And this is basically, how much of the treasury is realized, how much of it cannot go down. Back at the last FOHMO, we were sitting at around 10%. Today, it's above 30%. So we basically tripled that, risk-free value or like realization of our treasury. And then, if you look at this one as well, last FOHMO was like $30 and today it's like 75. You can't see it, but it's above 75. So basically, in the past 2 months, we have tripled / 2.5x, our backing per token. We're seeing really solid growth, and I'm just like really excited to kind of see this thing perform how it should. Sorry, numbers, boring, but whatever. So with that, we're going to get into the rest of the event. I'm going to pass it off to I'm going to pass it off to one of my colleagues who's going to speak to you after this. Yeah. So we are going to bring up Sam. Sam is from Frax Finance. He's going to talk to us a little bit about what they're up to there and, what we're doing together. Welcome, Sam.
What's up, guys? Hey, how's it going? Homies, Fraximalists, everyone in between, BTC maxis among us, anyone else. It's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So a little bit about me. The founder of Frax. And we started Frax. I've personally been in crypto for a really long time, since 2013-ish. I actually started off mining Dogecoin. Believe it or not, that's how I got my start in crypto, and started a first company called Everpedia. And in 2019, I started Frax because I had the idea that everyone had grouped stable coins into 3 categories. right? They had the fiat coins, and then they had these over collateralized crypto coins like Maker, right? And then there was the other class of zero, collateral. Ooh, like spooky. How do you keep the price peg, basis and sign rate shares and stuff like that? And I just thought, well, what's in the middle, right? There's like that people are talking about 0% collateral, essentially a bank with no balance sheet, and then 150%. And what's in the middle, right? Like how does a fractional reserve that's actually decentralized look in crypto? And so we came up with Frax, which is basically a dynamic fractional reserve that adjusts itself based on the price of the stablecoin, which is Frax, and then the governance, token Frax shares, FXS. And the idea behind it is that there's obviously a reserve of assets. To keep things simple currently, it's USDC. And we're actually going to diversify out of that in the next 2 months to be fully, completely decentralized, which is exciting. But currently, to keep things simple, the asset is just USDC. And if Frax is in demand in the open market at $1.01, the collateral ratio goes down, so it becomes more fractional. And the opposite happens if Frax is 99 cents. More Frax shares are minted to fill the reserve of assets and make sure that there is no significant bank run. Now, I'm sure that the first thing everyone's listening here is going to ask is when Mark Cuban rug, right? Like when, Titan Finance basically is going to happen. And the thing is that, first of all, watching my code actually being part of a multi-billion-dollar bank run was a first in crypto. So that was actually kind of insane to think about. So Iron, for anyone that doesn't know by now, is or was a fork of Frax V1 with no AMOs, no extra features, and just the very, very basic code that we wrote back in 2020. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is that there's going to be a lot of Frax forks, right? Just like there's a lot of forks of everything, right? And although their code is the same, the economic implementations and the design decisions they make and parameter tunings are all different, right? To say, for example, a lot of people said, well, look at Iron, it shows that Frax is insecure. It's like saying ETH is insecure because Ethereum Classic got double spent or something like that. Because technically they both share the same code base, right? Or like fairly similar, right? But the point is that all of this stuff is more important than just the code base, the parameters, the community, as Zeus was saying, and how this stuff is built up from the ground up is extremely critical, right? Like we've seen, for example, curve forks, right? Or you guys recall Swerve, you guys recall all of these other things that didn't work out, but the code is identical, right? And it doesn't actually say anything about the canonical innovative community. In fact, it actually shows it actually proves the canonical, right? There's a really cool saying that is like basically, everyone claiming to be like a prophet after Jesus actually just proves like Jesus is the real deal, right? Like the first guy after Jesus, people start to doubt, is Jesus just a lunatic? But then everyone else that tries to actually be the new prophet because they're the next messenger of God, then it just looks ridiculous and it proves the original, right? Which you feel the same thing with BTC, right? You feel just because a proof of work blockchain doesn't work out or gets attacked doesn't mean BTC is actually insecure. In fact, it's the opposite, right? It highlights the canonical implementation as sound, right? And in fact, Olympus, as I know, and then I saw some of you guys talk about it before, is I think it's been forked at least once or twice. And I think that actually shows that you're onto something really, really huge, right? And that's actually one of the first markers that I look at is like, if something's being forked, it's being imitated, then it's definitely something is there. It's capturing people's imagination. People think they either can improve it, or some people think they can make money off of it by doing their own. And it actually just proves how innovative the original canonical implementation is. So the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about is why I'm so personally excited about the Olympus DAO community and the Frax community working together, what our actual, partnership and collaboration is, and then some stuff going forward. So as you guys probably know, Frax Ohm pair on app.frax.finance/staking is up. The yields are juicy. Everyone can go lock, even get extra boosts. I've just been earning and farming, and then staking my Ohm and staking my FXS and VFXS. And that's just the start, right? That what we want to do is something really, really special, because Zeus and I kind of share the same mind frame that algo stables are kind of the most interesting area of DeFi, because that's where the most monetary innovation is occurring, right? What money means, and discovering that money is a coordination mechanism for communicating value is actually just starting, right? People are just starting to realize that. And it's funny because people are, just saying like, oh, algo stablecoins are a Ponzi, they're just a game and stuff. And it's interesting because there's really just a lack of understanding that what all of our projects are about enacting on-chain monetary policy in a global scale, and building communities around a basically a end goal of monetary policy. So for Olympus DAO, it's a floating peg. For Frax, it's the first fractional reserve system in crypto that's fair, transparent, investable, fully governed, and basically something that actually works, right? And one of the most important things here is that I've been talking to kind of Zeus about what it actually means to be a unit of account, right? And I think that Olympus and perhaps Rye, and I think you guys have probably heard of Rye. Those guys are really cool and building something interesting. But perhaps all three of these projects, and I think Olympus is basically leading the way in this, are redefining the unit of account that we could actually use. I personally don't think that fixed supply cryptocurrencies that don't track some kind of standard of living or some kind of monetary policy that people can rely on will be useful as currency, right? They're all good investments. I'm very pro multi-trillion MCAP thesis of ETH and BTC. I just don't think that they're going to be used as a unit of account. Something that people can hold and make sure that their standard of living is the same across time. And I think that Olympus DAO, as well as us, we've introduced something called the Frax Price Index that we're working on, which is an on-chain governable index of prices and assets that essentially tracks a global standard of living average, so that if there's a stable coin issued against this, people can accrue that stable coin and at least expect that their standard of living will be fairly the same. So if they have 1 million of these stable coins, then they can be reasonably expected to purchase the same kind of consumable items, whether they're homes or cars or whatever you define as something that is part of your standard of living. It's anchored to some fundamental things that humans find useful. And so I think one thing that we want to do with Olympus is make sure that Ohm is one of the most important gauges in this index. I'm really excited to say that whatever we build with the Frax Price Index, one of the future collaborations that I really want to have between our two communities is define some unit of account that Ohm is one of the And so that's why I'm really bullish about just starting this kind of collaboration, because it's part of a broader view and conversation around money and around defining units of account that I think is really important. So we really want to continue to kind of build up on this partnership, as well as the other thing in the near term that we're doing imminently actually is launching the AMO, which allows expanding Frax supply into a algorithmic monetary policy that does a specific task. So for example, buying Frax bonds, right? And then staking the in the DAO. So that's actually coming next week, which allows the Frax protocol to essentially be investors and long-term holders, right? And basically vested in the success of Olympus DAO, right? The same way that Olympus DAO uses Frax as collateral as the second big item in the treasury after DAI. We want to build together, be invested in each other's success together, and actually create the biggest, honestly, in my opinion, joint stablecoin DeFi community in the space. I'm so bullish in terms of the ideas and the things and the innovation and the tech that both of our communities are developing, that I just want there to be camaraderie, aligned incentives, as well as just dank memes and the spicy dank memes that go on in both of our Discords, Telegrams, and communities. So that's what I'm most excited about. Near term, AMO, Frax price index using itself as well in the treasury gauges, and then also Olympus DAO in taking Frax, right, as one of their big treasury assets. So those are the things we're working on at Frax, and I'm really, really bullish, even if the market is crabbish right now. But we're building the most important DeFi primitives, in my honest opinion, for the next leg up. And here is where the most important conversations are going to happen. So I'm pretty excited. I'll pass it off to the next Galaxy Brain, and I think that is Noor from Inverse, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, so passing it off to Noor here. Take care, Omis and Fraximalists, and any BTC maxis or ETH maxis in the audience. Later.
I do just want to, hop in for like 30 seconds to just reiterate that I agree with so much of that. I do think that both of our projects are pretty market agnostic, which is cool. And just the fact that, I think Sam and I have now been like talking and shooting the shit on this for like 3 months. This partnership has been a long time in the works. I think that we're both really excited about it and, cool things to come. So you want to come up, Noor?
Hi, everyone. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Noor. I'm founder of Inverse Finance. Inverse. Let me give you a short intro about Inverse. Inverse is a DAO, an on-chain DAO. We've been, which has been launched since December 2020. We've been working on a couple products. So first of which is DCA Vaults. Basically, it's a vault that reinvests your yield into a different asset. So you put DAI, for example, it takes your DAI on a daily basis and invests in Ether. So it started basically as DCA Vaults, and we transitioned into a DAO that builds different products. So we've built a money market / decentralized stablecoin called DOLA. And DOLA is basically an over-collateralized. Well, unlike what France is building, it's a little different. It's basically similar to DAI in the way where it's over-collateralized. So you put multiple types of collateral, such as ETH, BTC, or WBTC, and other collateral types, ENV as well. And you can borrow DOLA. We've been also working on other products. We've recently acquired Swirl or Tonic Finance, which is also a product working on DC Evils. We're basically, I would say, what the main differentiator of Inverse Finance between Inverse and other products and other projects in the space and other DAOs as well is that we're very serious about decentralization. So there's not really any team or company or any kind of legal entity or even any kind of central planning in Inverse. There are only maybe different groups who are working on different aspects of the DAO. So we have a marketing committee, which is elected. We have a grants committee as well. We have different devs who are working in parallel. The other thing I want to talk about Inverse really quick is Dola. So Dola is actually extremely similar to DAI, but it's in many ways, I would say, of course, but I'm biased, a superior over collateralized stablecoin. So our main focus is on capital efficiency, actually across all of our products. So Dola allows you to earn collateral to earn interest on your collateral. Unlike MakerDAO, it allows you to put different collateral. It allows you to kind of avoid fragmenting your different collaterals. Also, like Maker Bolts, there are other benefits as well. But so in terms of, I would say my main interest in collaborating with Olympus now is that I think our main issue right now at Inverse, in particular in regards to Dola, is timing. So I think right now our time to kind of introduce Dola to the market is a little bit inconvenient, I would say. There are a ton of other stablecoins, and DAI has grown really, has had a lot of time to grow before. So there are many reasons for many users to transition to a new over collateralized stablecoin. So what Olympus is kind of, I think, is offering us right now is a way to quickly bootstrap demand for Dola, and kind of give us a borrowing boost, which also increases our protocol revenue. But mainly, my main interest in Olympus is basically by creating a new bond. I think this is basically in the works. It's not yet introduced, but basically, my idea is that we'll be creating a new bond between Dola and LP token, which would create demand both for Dola and liquidity for and at the same time, we'd also be creating, I think would be the way I'm seeing it is that we'd be creating this kind of feedback loop by adding staked as a collateral on our money market. So people will be able to borrow Dola, put it in an LP token with and putting it back into the bond and borrowing more Dola, etc. Kind of leveraging dash Dola LP. So I'm pretty excited about this part. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, could we dig in a little bit to just what that would look like? Because that's got me super excited. Like, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, functionally the way that it would work is that SOM holders would be able to deposit their SOM and mint Dola against it, right?
Right. So you would have a collateral factor. Say you have 60% collateral factor. You can deposit staked and you can borrow Dola using your existing and you can put more into the bond basically. And yeah, pretty much. So you'll be able to leverage it.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like there will be, like, if we obviously this is earlier stages and we got to get it through governance, but if we do this, like, you can borrow Dola with your OHM and then use that to build up the liquidity of OHM and Dola. Effectively gaining buying power just by like borrowing with newly minted DOLA. I would agree. Definitely, like what's caught my eye is that like it's a similar model to Maker, but it seems superior. Where we can kind of like I feel like the issue thus far has been liquidity, where we can build up the liquidity and it's to our benefit as well as yours. And
Right.
like
Also, I would also add that being added as a collateral will also add some capital efficiency to them. So basically, you can also opt for other strategies. So one of the things is we have liquidity incentives for DOLA liquidity. So basically, I think we've had between 70 to 100% APY for DOLA-3 curve stakers. So basically, even if you don't want to kind of participate in this kind of free feedback loop, you can just have your stake on our money market anchor, and you can borrow DOLA and just stake it, and that will basically create kind of a yield just for stakers. So I would argue that will probably create some additional demand for that. So I would also So basically, you basically I think what you would be doing here is that you kind of be hedging your position in stake so you'd be creating this perpetual yield on top of your existing bet by participating in the bonds, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think that it's like very, very exciting. And just like, one of the last pieces I think is cool and like, kind of unique to how this partnership would work is the fact that, by accumulating that DOLA liquidity, like the way that DOLA supply contracts is through liquidations, right? And so, when people get liquidated, they're getting liquidated into, the treasury effectively. And so it's this like risk deferred means because that liquidity kind of stemmed from the fact that those bonds were created, and like the existence of the DOLA is due to the liquidity almost, and then the reduction of the DOLA is like also facilitated by that liquidity. So it's like a cool kind of risk mitigated feedback loop that I feel like will be really powerful.
I'm also something else that I'm also excited about is that because of these bonds, there's a potential for Olympus DAO to become pretty significant, if not the largest source of liquidity for DOLA, which would allow Olympus to kind of receive a significant part of swap fees. So the thing is, DOLA is the only stable coin that is borrowable on our money market, and we've been very focused on adding new assets that are not available in other markets, which includes but also includes, for example, stake ETH. So there's like $1.2 billion of stake ETH that are coming to Anchor, and basically these borrowers will probably be looking to borrow stables to farm in other places. So if is also kind of the single largest source of liquidity, then basically it would be the single largest recipient of swap fees. So I think there's kind of this opportunity also for Olympus DAO to kind of become this kind of the market maker, the single largest market maker of this of our stable coin, where there's going to be natural significant demand coming from our money market having this stable coin being the only way to whether leverage your collateral or also just farm. So yeah, I think it's pretty exciting.
Same. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be awesome. All right. With that, I feel like we're going to move on to who do we have next? I think Fatty Bags, Mr. Sir. Thank you, Nor, for speaking. That was awesome, and
thank you.
Very informative. I don't know. This one's been kind of under wraps, so it's excited to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Greetings, gentlemen. Greetings, everybody. How's it going? If you guys would let me know if my internet connection is solid, I am located in the woods. I'm rocking some squirrel internet, Tree SL if you'd like. Happy FOHMO 2, everybody. This is sick. Great to see this kind of show out. Let's make it happen. I'm going to be here with Unbanksy. He's going to do a little bit of screen sharing for his half of the segment, and we can rock and roll. So first and foremost, like I said, I want to say good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the globe that you reside. I'd like to thank everyone. From coding gurus to incredible artists, the diversity is there and the talent is truly undeniable. But before I get into that, let's talk a little bit about the process that catapulted us here. Olympus was the brainchild of Zeus, as we all know. Shout out Zeus. He saw a need for a DeFi native currency and felt that Ohm would be the best implementation of an algo stablecoin, and he ran with it. Early on, he reached out for the assistance of Apollo, shout out Apollo, who we all know and love, who dedicated his time helping with the legalities and management during the early gestation period. Zeus then found a couple incredibly talented developers, Jeff and Sino, both of which were in part responsible for building the initial system for staking and LP bonds. Shout out Jeff and Sino. Starting in February, the team began building the community. From there, a pre-sale, whitelist in early March, and a launch in late March. Late April is when it was decided by the core team to make a push towards a DAO structured protocol. From that point until now is where we're at, and man, oh man, have we been getting busy. If you just step back and kind of really digest everything that I just listed, it's truly incredible how far this protocol has come in such a short span of time. That's due in part to an incredible and passionate core team, as well as an uncountable amount of brilliant minds within the Olympus community. So shout out to all you gigabrain women and men out there that have been contributing to this. We love you, and we are super, super stoked to have you on board. You really are the beating heart of the community and of the DAO and of Olympus. To solidify this growth in everyone's mind, I'd like to list off some of the DAO metrics real quick. The DAO was launched on May 18th. Kind of put things in perspective. Since then, we've had 706 Discord signups. That is 11% of the broader Olympus community. Let that sit in for like a moment. That's a lot of people stepping up to plate. Within that group, we have 20 plus regular contributors that have helped spearhead several of the departments within the DAO. Ranging from front-end development all the way to marketing, to design, you name it, the GigaBrains are plentiful. Some of these community members are working their normal jobs, and when they get out of one meeting, they're hopping into an Olympus DAO Discord and diving headfirst into another. Some code during the day, and then come home and code for the protocol at night. Some design during the day, and come home and design for the protocol at night. Dedicated, to say the least. It's truly incredible, the sheer amount of dedication that the Ohmies bring to the table. Shout out Ohmies all day. Love you, baby. With that being said, I'm going to pass the baton over to Unbanksy. He's a talented core contributor, a friend, and an overall stand-up Ohmie. He's going to speak to the evolution of the DAO and what's to be expected. And then after that, I'll join you guys again. So once again, thank you guys for joining us on the FOHMO 2, and let's keep it rolling.
Thank you, Fatty Bags. So let me share my screen for a second, and we'll get the party going. Awesome. All right, so I'm reporting that people are seeing my screen, so I'm just gonna get going then. Cool. So, yeah, like I just want to reiterate like what Fedibag said. It's been an amazing ride this past month since the DAO started. Typically, it takes a traditional startup a year or two after launch to grow to the phase that we're at now, and it took us only a month. So kudos to all the OMIs and to the community, and I think that's a huge bull signal to where we're headed. A month ago, we actually did an exercise with the community, trying to identify what are the mission and the values and the vision that we as a community see Olympus DAO embody. And here's what we came up with. So we're building a global community-owned and decentralized economy so we can introduce stability, transparency back into financial markets and create financial inclusion for all. The key words that stand out to me are global, community-owned, and decentralized. And those form the pillars of the DAO that we've created so far. Fundamentally, we're not looking to create organizations of the past. Instead of tops-down command and control, we want to harness the power of the community that exists today to create this bottoms-up organization that's 10 times more effective than what exists. Our first value is community-owned. So, you know, in the shorthand for DAO is decentralized autonomous organizations, and we really want to lean into that decentralized aspect of it. What that means is we want to encourage grassroots project formation, and we're already seeing that in action with projects like Odyssey Museum and OIP 11, where Olympus community members came up with the idea, formed a team, and saw it through execution. And so, I can really imagine like a future state where anybody from around the world has an amazing idea that wants to help contribute to the OHM ecosystem. They can put up a budget proposal up for vote and get funding to realize that vision. So everything that we're working towards is to design an organization that fits that future state. Second value for us is results oriented. So we're decentralized, but that doesn't mean we're in the idea that like we're being decentralized may imply that it's kind of haphazard and chaotic, but that doesn't, for us, it doesn't mean we're not organized. We really believe in adding just enough structure to help community members work with what they're passionate on and then realize that vision going forward. And of course, that also means that we're intentional in what we do, and we'll make sure that we do it right. And then the third value is sustainable. Olympus DAO is in it for the long term, and we want to build an economy that outlasts all of our lifetimes. What that means is that when we face with tough decisions, we want to lean towards sustainable long-term thinking rather than short-term profits. So we've been around for 100 days, and I want to share a glimpse of where we're going in the next 100 days. All right, so as Olympus enters its next phase of growth, the number one thing is, of course, we want to focus on expanding our reach, right? We have this amazing community, we have the power of memetics, and we want to leverage that and want to lean into those, the powerful memes to kickstart viral loops that will bring in more members and expand our reach. In terms of specific projects that we're working on there's Olympus rebrand and V2. There's marketing initiatives that we're focusing on. And then what I mentioned was this Odyssey Museum, this amazing initiative by memetics and Eves and other community members that will help grow the OHM ecosystem. The second focus for us is to grow the treasury. So we've proved out the mechanics in staking and DAI bonds. We now want to pour on the gas and partner with other protocols. So we had great presentations by Sam from Frax and Noor from Inverse. And that's exactly what we want to continue doing, right? So we kind of want to partner rather than compete and grow together rather than compete down the line. In terms of what we're doing to achieve that, we're exploring this idea of a treasury as a service that provides diamond hands liquidity to up and coming protocols that helps them have the necessary liquidity, bootstrapping that liquidity, and then for us in terms of rewards and being a stabilizer for that ecosystem. So in other words, like a decentralized central bank of DeFi. Definitely considering multi-chain expansion. That's something that we're starting to work on. and then various policy updates. Some of them, if you were in the office hours on Wednesday, ABPUP and HD Based were talking about. And then the third important thing for us is to improve the OMI experience. If you're familiar with the Olympus mechanics, they're not easy to understand. You really need to have a gigabrain to quickly understand that, and there's a reason for why we have these memes. And so, like, as new users join from these initiatives, we want to make sure that they're educated and they understand the value of Olympus, right? And so, creating a great onboarding experience and educational materials will help in that regard. Here's this roadmap. I'm just sharing a screen share of this, but Portal is going to share a link publicly that you can check out. So this, you can imagine this is actually going to update as we work on. But this just highlights some of the multiple initiatives that we as a team are working on. We as a DAO are working on, and it's going to be updating in real time as you know, new projects are added and direction is updated. Before I hand it back over to Fatty Bags, I just want to add one more thing. To highlight the fact that we're working on something and we're actually cranking shit out, I want to show a project here that's a perfect example of the OMI spirit. This is an example that highlights the work of Sifurble, Garth Brooks, and Jaws. These are amazing turbo artists that spent the last few weeks updating the user experience for Olympus to really make it crystal clear what we're about, staking, and opportunities we have for bonding and we'll have down the line. And I'm excited to share that we'll be launching this pretty soon, in the next 24 hours. So amazing work, you guys. This is an example of how the DAO is effective and gets shit done. So I'm going to turn it over to Fatty Bags, and he's going to tell you a little bit about how you can join and participate and help in the DAO.
Man, I wish I had a trumpet where I could just play that, because you crushed it. Banksy, you crushed it. I love it. To follow up with Unbanksy, you know, I don't want this to sound like some U.S. military recruitment, but we need you. We want you would be the correct way of saying that, is that if you have an idea, if you're a visionary, if you're a late night coder, if you're learning to design, if you have aspirations for learning marketing, all of these things are consideration points within the DAO. This is what we need. No question is dumb, no suggestion is stupid. And we love that. It's a friendly and a family-oriented community within the DAO. So what we want are people who want to learn or people who are experts in their field. It doesn't matter. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop a link to the DAO onboarding form. If we could get somebody to drop that in chat. If you come into the Olympus main server, we'll make sure to drop that into the general chat as well. That will be listed in resources of the DAO server, but that doesn't really work for some of you guys who aren't already in there. So I'll make sure to have one of our community members link that for everybody. We want you 100%. The reason that we are here now is because it is a conglomerate of brilliant minds who have all come together and have crushed it as a team with a family mentality. And I truly believe that if we continue at this rate, that we're unstoppable, period. There's absolutely nothing that's going to stop us. And the more brilliant minds that we onboard, the bigger that this bad boy is going to get. So from me, I love you, homies. We all love you. This is a 3-3 gang for life. Buy and stake. And if you have any questions or concerns or comments, come into our Olympus General Discord, drop them in general chat, and we'll be glad to guide you and get you guys lined up so that you can participate or become part of the DAO. Without everybody in this community, we're nothing. So please join. Like, we would love to have you, 100%. With that being said, I would like to go ahead and pass this bad boy over. We're going to have Fisk, some DAO members and partners speaking. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Like, we love having you. Stick around. Let's do it.
Okay, Fiscantes is actually sick, unfortunately. So please wish him, the best. I'm gonna have to, fill in for him and probably fail at it, but let's go for it. So we're gonna wrap up tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed and have learned something. I just want to touch on a few things before we go. The first one is please migrate your SOM. We still have like 20% unmigrated. You're earning way less. We have frozen the amount that is getting distributed to that one. So, it's like, I think they're receiving 12.5% of the distribution. So it's less that, we're not leaving them out to dry. That's not very 3-3. But please migrate so we can get rid of that contract. Thank you. Another thing is, please go comment, like, and retweet on the Sushi Swap tweet that came out today. They're looking for, dedicated communities that, they can allocate more to as part of International Sushi Day. We all love sushi, both the food and the project. They have been amazing. We love working with them. There's actually, two things that we're working on, having happen with them. Stay tuned for that. Another thing is that we are updating the bonds tomorrow. Basically, we discovered, a little like vulnerability that's not really code based, but more economic, where, someone can go corner one of those markets, use it to manipulate the price of the bonds. It's no good. It happened. It was pretty minimal, but we want to close that off in the future. We don't want anything to happen like that again. So we're going to migrate those tomorrow. You shouldn't notice anything happen. Ideally, we tried today, but everything didn't quite align, and so we pushed it back to tomorrow. But ideally, tomorrow we will do so, and you won't even know that anything happened. The only thing that you will notice is that if you already have a bond outstanding, you will just go to the redeem V1, or it should say redeem V1.1, and that's where you'll redeem your old bonds. That's pretty much it. With that, there's a couple cool things that we can do. One of them is that we're going to enable auto staking on the bond payouts, where you can go straight into staking with your bond payment. You don't have to redeem and then go stake. Basically, cut out the middleman, save you some gas money. And then the other one, which is probably going to take a couple of days, will be that we can offer a service where you can pay a little bit of gas up front. You can put yourself on a list, and then your bond payments will get redeemed automatically for you every single day. I'm excited about that one. Basically, you make a bond, and then every day you're just going to receive some SOM into your wallet. That should be pretty cool. Going along the lines of bonds, on Monday we're launching Frax bonds. So right now we have the Frax own bonds. I think so far we've accumulated like a third of the pool. It's like $800,000 worth of liquidity. We're going to go and launch Frax only bonds as well, so we can start scooping up some of that sweet Frax. Excited about that. We're going to become a whale in the Frax market as well. I think we now own like 0.25% of DAI. Looking forward to owning that much Frax and more. One more thing, just going off of what like Fatty Bags and Banksy said, so we launched the DAO I think a month ago to the day, and before we did that, there was some like nervousness within the contributors at the time that maybe it was too soon, maybe people wouldn't contribute, maybe it would get to be just like disorganized and nothing would get done. It's just been amazing to see it take form, because it's really like been neither the case. We have really dedicated people contributing. They're organizing themselves, they're getting things done. They're being really productive, and it's just like incredible to see. And I'm excited to see it continue to form. It's really cool that like I would say that at this point we don't really have anything resembling like a core team. We just have a DAO, and different groups within that DAO. But it's very open. It's very welcoming. If you want to get involved, like I'm just going to reiterate them. Please, get involved. Join us. Like we would love to have you. And we'll definitely put you to work. A few more things going along the lines of that. So far, the DAO contributors have like kind of been working for free. We haven't really had a budget set on a large scale yet. Apollo today just put up a proposal to allocate $30,000 a week in ohm equivalent to DAO contributors. I would advise you to please go vote on that. I think the voting just started around an hour ago, and it'll run until Sunday. So you have some time to go, voice your thoughts on that. There's also a forum post that's been up for like 3 days. So join the discussion, put your vote in. One more thing. So after this, we're gonna have an after party. We're gonna have 2 of them. So one of them will be with Odyssey. So we're gonna have Dimitri, who is an artist. He's gonna come and talk about what they're up to over there. And then the other one is with Alpha Omega, which is one that I'm really excited about. Basically like an NFT world kind of game. Both of those will be in the main Discord in their own channels. I would encourage you to go check them out, listen in for a little bit. And then, finally, I just want to thank everyone who has come to listen, especially everyone who has come to talk, Sam, Noor, Banksy, Fatty Bags. Thank you to Wartool for putting this together. Really fun event. Blessed to be a part of it. I hope that you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I think that's about it. Anyone wanna correct me? All right.
I want to drop a 3-3. Just quick 3-3, everybody. Let's go. FOMO 2, baby.
Can you give me the line from the song? Shout out Fatty Bag's song.
Selfless